Hello, Steve Arts 89. Well, there's a lot of talk about the new Lord of the Rings series, The Rings of Power. A lot of controversy about the casting. Um, it's I don't know what the situation is with it. I don't know Lord of the Rings well enough to really be sure, but it doesn't seem that difficult to me to have diverse casting in the show. That seems to be the issue. You have the usual suspects are all upset because they've got people of colour in the cast. And those people are going to be upset no matter what because they're just against diversity. So no matter what, and they're racist. So no matter what, they're going to have a problem with the show if it has a diverse cast and isn't, you know, whitewashed. So that's its own thing. But the argument seems to be that Mr. Tolkien based Middle Earth on an allegory of England at that time. So to change that somehow is an issue. And I'm like, I don't see the issue because it's just casting. It's just the colour of the actors. It really doesn't affect... I don't see how it affects the story or the characterizations or anything other than just being able to hire a diverse cast. I don't get the problem. Now, England now is a diverse place. So if he was making the show now, if he was writing the novels now, wouldn't he use people of different colours? I'm not sure artistically why they needed to all be white. I don't understand why that's something that was necessary then and is something that can't be changed now. I really do not see the issue of having a multiracial cast. And that's what people are claiming, that, they're going against the story and how he wrote it. And I'm like, I don't see the problem with that because it's a superficial change. Like, I don't see how any of the characters, any of the stories, any of the elements that they're going to be exploring have to be changed just because the actors are not white. I don't get the issue. I think the only issue is racism. But that's of course what the critics and what the producers will say of anyone who criticises any element of the show. Now, the only thing I have heard, which I can't confirm because I don't know enough about the story, is that we know that the story is set like 1,000 or so years before The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and everything. So I don't think any of the characters, or very few of the characters, because only a few of them live that long, are actually going to be involved. So it was not like they're not going to be recasting actors that were white in different colours or anything like that. It's going to be different people. And the only issue is it is going to be a bit odd when, you get to the future and there's only white people in that universe and suddenly all the people of colour have disappeared. But, people are smart enough to understand that these films were made back in 2000 and there wasn't as much diverse casting. So that's why the whole cast is white. And people can actually understand and make the difference and actually understand the difference. So I don't see the issue there either. But the only thing I hear that they are changing is apparently they're adding hobbits and things that shouldn't have been in that time because they're what people expect or are familiar with or something. So there does appear to be some shuffling around of the actual the chronology or the culture of this fantasy landscape, this fantasy world. I'm not sure if that's actually the case or not, or maybe they want to cover a bunch of periods and they're sort of condensing them all so they can do with them in one show, because there's basically a show is 5 years. They've already signed on for 5 years. They've committed to it. It's going to cost like billions of dollars, and they've already mapped out the story for like the 4 or 5 years. And I'm not sure if they're condensing things and they're combining things or if they're changing things. If they're changing things, that's probably not wise because this is a beloved, revered literary work and they shouldn't really be changing anything about it. Now, having a diverse cast, I don't see that as changing anything. Like I said, the stories of characters can all unfold as they would have. But if they're changing other things like putting in races that weren't there or moving events together so they can be all in the same year or the same show, that gets a bit iffy. So if they're doing that, I can understand some criticism. And I'm sure those people will be criticised and called racist just because they have an issue with the show and it's got a diverse cast, even if it's not about the race and not about the casting. But because there's that always happens. But there's always the people who hate on it no matter what because of the diverse casting. And there's always the people who will accuse anyone who has any legitimate criticism of being racist if they criticise the show. So you have these two dynamics happening. And it's I don't know if which side is right, or if either side is right. Maybe they're both just carrying on about their own agendas, and the show can actually just go along with no issues with a diverse cast and just do what it was going to do and adhere to the actual chronology and the culture of the world. I really don't know. But I just find it really curious that so many people are upset about the casting, and I'm hearing very little about actual changes to the story or the actual world of Middle-earth and all that. And those are the only things that would probably bear some criticism, unless they do them in a way that works and they manage to create a more dynamic show. Because a lot of people complained about how long or how much was cut out of the Lord of the Rings films, and they did the giant extended versions, and everyone seemed happy with those. I have them on Blu-ray. I've never watched them. I saw the films in the cinema each year with some friends, and I saw the first Hobbit film, and I didn't end up seeing the other Hobbit films. I thought I'll just watch them on DVD because they just didn't grab me. Now, I've heard that The Hobbit was one book, and they split it over a trilogy, and they spread it thin and added a bunch of things that weren't in there and dragged it out and ruined it that way. And I'm not really sure what the case is because, again, I haven't read the book and I don't know if those people are right. But I think it's perfectly plausible they could do a series and move things around, combine things, condense things so they can get a whole long time period into this series and do a good job of it. It's not impossible. But the people who are in charge of this have worked with J.J. Abrams, so there is a little bit of doubt there because they have done some things fans weren't happy with. So I'm really not sure what the case is, what's going to happen with this. If it's going to be a good show, if it's going to be criticised unnecessarily, or if it's going to have issues and people aren't going to be allowed to criticise it when it deserves it. I really don't know. But I just want to talk about it because I thought it was interesting, and I'm hoping maybe some people in the comments can enlighten me about what the actual circumstances are with some of it, because most people I've heard are very much speaking from a bias agenda, and I'm not quite sure. I don't really have the time to do the real research. I don't have the time to read the actual novels and actually, work out what has been changed or affected versus just, the politics that people are getting caught up in. But I'm going to go. I've talked way longer than I planned to, but it is kind of complicated and it is kind of interesting, and I will watch it, but I guess I don't know if it's going to make me want to watch the series again, the movies, the trilogy again, because it's all a prequel, so it shouldn't. I should be able to watch it and then go watch them afterwards, in like 5 years after it's all done, and see how that informs the series, or if it affects it at all, the trilogy, or if it affects it at all. But again, I'm still talking. I'm going to go. Thanks. Bye.